Y'all help me welcome the great, the incredible Senior National Sales Director, Ian Prukner. Let's go, Coach.
Yeah, let's go, Ian.
Hey, guys. Hey, Jason, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, it's really a pleasure to be with you guys, and a lot of team in Florida, right? My official home now, although I'm back up north for the summertime. And hey, first of all, I just want to say thank you for inviting me on. It really is a privilege to be able to speak with you guys. And your organization is known throughout the company, and it's one to watch. You know, we see what's happening over there, and with your parents, Ed and Yvonne, and your brother, and it's really something special that you have going on. And you know, in our quick conversation a couple of weeks ago when we talked about you know, coming on and doing this, you were talking to me about the hierarchy preparing for $1 million run, right? $1 million run. And so today what we're going to do, okay, we're going to go through a lot of stuff. I hope you guys are taking notes because great minds think on paper, right? I hope you're taking notes. We're going to go through a lot of stuff. I'm going to help you with the mindset, the belief set of what it's going to take to become $1 million team, right? And why that matters and why it's important to you and what's in that for you. And I'm going to talk to us specifically about a couple things. Number one is, what do we need to do as a team together? What do we need to be doing? Okay, what do we need to be doing? How do we need to be thinking to make the move from where we are now to getting to that $1 million, okay? And Jason, the team is where in cash, like 500-600, somewhere right around there, right?
Yes, sir. We are about to clip 600. Yes, sir. We'll
Okay.
clip 600 by the end of this month.
Great, fantastic. All right, so you're right about where we were when we decided to make a concerted $1 million run. And guys, listen, we went from 600,000 to $1 million in like 8 months, right? Okay, so it doesn't have to take a long time if we're playing together as a team. So I'm going to talk to you about what you need to do as a team, but I'm going to tell you exactly what we did and exactly how we did it. Okay, and so listen, if you want to get somebody's results, you simply find somebody with the results you want and you have them teach you what they did to get there. And that's exactly what I'm going to do this morning. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, what do we need to be doing as a team to become $1 million earning team? And let me just help you here, okay, really quickly, okay? And y'all give me permission to speak freely here, right? Okay, I can tell you the truth. This isn't a bunch of softies, right, Jason?
Give it to us, Coach. Give it to us. We hungry.
They ain't gonna squeal like the Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm like, and they're like, right? Okay.
Nah, we strong. We're strong. We got it, Coach.
They're not soft. Okay. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So, you know, I'm going to tell you exactly what we did, exactly how we did it. But let me tell you something first and foremost. If you're not $1 million earning team in Primerica today, you are irrelevant. Let me just tell you that, right? Like I can't believe it's almost 5 years ago now when we went over $1 million a year. Like there were 2 or 3 people a year who would do that, maybe, right? Maybe. And today it's like 2 or 3 people a month are going over $1 million. If you want to stay relevant in today's Primerica, you got to be $1 million earners, right? So understand what this team is fighting for. You're fighting for a name on the national stage, right? Does that make sense? You're fighting for a legacy because, guys, listen, if your grandparents smoked and your parents smoked and your older brother smokes and your older sister smokes and your aunts and uncles smoke, you're probably going to be a what? A smoker, right? Okay. That's just how it works, right? We learn from the people around us. So let me ask you, do you want to be $1 million earner? Do you want to make $1 million a year in this business? Okay. There's probably very few people on here today who would say no. Well, if you want to be $1 million earner, it would help if you're not the first one, right? It would help if you had a lineage of $1 million earners, right? Okay. And so in this hierarchy, we need to start promoting some $1 million earners, right? I know y'all have some $1 million earners above you, but I didn't want to have $1 million earners above me. I wanted to be $1 million earner, and I wanted to create a pathway for my people to be $1 million earners. Jason, listen, I've got a guy in my business. He's been in the business for 24 months. Okay, he made $60,000 last month. He'll make $80,000 this month. 24 months. The guy doesn't have a securities license, Jason. That's all on life insurance. 100% of it on life insurance. In 24 months, he's pacing to make $1 million a year in 24 months. Why? Because he has an example of somebody who decided to do it big, who knew the way, right? Leaders, what? They know the way, they go the way, and they what? They show the way, right? And so guys, listen, this means something. You need to write that down. $1 million earner means something to me. It means something to me, right? The fact that Ed and Yvonne are going to go over $1 million, that's got to mean something to you. And some of you this morning, you're like, well, that's great. My coach is going to make $1 million. Wrong answer. That's not great for them. It's great for you. It's great for you because now they can show you the pathway. Now you have an example right next to you of somebody who did that. Jason, you're next, right? You got to be thinking that way. And guys, listen, no matter how big a player you are right now or how much of a future giant you are right now, it doesn't matter. You got to get your coaches there because that's the precedent you're going to set on that team. Understand this, Jason, that guy, right, that I'm talking about, make 80,000 this month. He's a second generation to me. He's not even direct to me. He's underneath one of my RVPs because he's close enough to somebody who thinks big that it rubs off on them. So understand that it matters, that what we're talking about today matters more than almost anything else in your life the next 6 to 9 months, that you are a part of the team that makes this a reality. Because as your leaders go, so you go. It's like, you know what we always tell recruits, hey, look at somebody who's been at your job 20 years longer than you, right? Is that the sort of life you want? And most people at a job say, no, heck no, blankety blank no, right? Okay, they don't want that, right? But the same thing happens here, you all, right? People look and they say, what happens to me when I'm here for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years? And the answer is they got a ruby or a sapphire on their finger. That's what needs to happen, right? Does that make sense? Okay, guys, so listen, this matters. This matters. So I'm going to share my screen with you. We're going to go through a bunch of stuff. So we're going to talk about what do we need to do as a team, number one. Number two, we're going to talk about what do I need to do? Me, listening to this right now. Okay, I understand what the team needs to do, and I'm a part of the team. But what do I need to do to be a part of this? Because here's the best part. Okay, so guys, listen. For Ed and Yvonne to go to $1 million, they got to jump by about 80%. Let me help you understand something. Where's all that money coming from? That's coming from the production of the people on this call right now, right? And so for their income to go up 80%, math would say your production would need to go up 80%. Let me ask you a question. Would you be butthurt? Would your feelings be hurt if your production doubled in the next 6 months? Is there anybody on here that would complain that your production doubled, your income doubled, your momentum doubled? Anybody like, nah, I'm not in for the doubling. I'd prefer to stay exactly where I am. Okay? Do you understand that? This matters. Everybody wins. Guys, listen, everybody wins. So we're going to talk about what we need to do as a team, and then we're going to talk about what you as an individual need to do to carry your weight and to be part of that explosive growth, okay? And then we're going to talk about the recruiting mindset. We're going to talk about the recruiting mindset because the fact is this, if you want to get bigger, you need to get bigger, okay? The truth is we're probably not going to get Ed and Yvonne to $1 million by this group of people doing 80% more personally. That's not how we're going to do it. We're going to do it by getting 80% bigger and having teams built under teams, right? And that only comes from recruiting. We've got to sell out to big recruiting if we want to have any ability to sell ourselves on massive jumps in income, okay? Like literally, Jason, right now, my income is up $50,000 a month over this time last year, right? That's a nice pay raise. Wouldn't you agree with that? Okay, why? Because our recruiting is explosive. Jason, for the first time in history this month, my organization will recruit 1,000 people in a month. Isn't that unbelievable? Listen, last year we were recruiting 250 people in a month. Now we're recruiting 1,000. And as recruiting goes, so goes the rest of the business. You should write that down. As recruiting goes, so goes the rest of the business. Now, I'm going to help you with your mindset, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of the main subjects of the book that I wrote. Okay, which is what I've learned from studying people for a decade about why some people win and why most people don't. Wouldn't you want to know that? Like, doesn't your life depend on you winning? Like yes or yes, right? If you knew the fact was most people won't win and your life is dependent on you winning, wouldn't it make sense that you become a student of success and a student of failure? Wouldn't it make sense for you to know everything about why people win and why some people don't win? Wouldn't that make sense? We're going to talk about developing that recruiting mindset and what separates the winners from the losers. And then at the end, we'll talk about a couple of ways we can connect, because the truth is, listen, I've been doing this for 13 years, right? I've done this for probably 50,000 hours, right? I've talked to more people than you've ever thought about talking to, right? Okay. And I can't possibly give you all of that in 45 minutes. You understand that, right? Like I'm going to give you the high level overview, but I'm going to give you some ways we can connect afterwards where hopefully I can give you more of the details, more of the how-to, more of the why and the what than I possibly have the capacity to give you right here. Everybody good with that, right? All right, so we're going to share. Give me 1 second. Let me see. There we go. All right, let me do it. Hold on 1 second. Let me get out of here. Y'all can see this, yes? You can see that, Jason? Yeah, all right, fantastic. So let's talk about the $1 million run. Let's talk about the $1 million run. And let's start by the fact that you are positioned for it right now with the momentum you've been working hard as a team to create. But I want you to understand this. Are you resting on last year's championship right now? Are you resting on the growth that you've had? Like, man, we've got momentum. Look at how far we've come. That's fan-dad-gum-tastic that you have grown right now. But the growth you have had so far is not the growth you're going to need to get to where you're going. You understand that? And so we gotta put to death the wins of the past. Okay? You know, it's said that in battle, most armies that suffer devastating defeats are defeated because they fought the last war. What does that mean? It means they came into this war, but they fought it like the last war they won. They were so focused on how they won the last war that they didn't adapt and change. And so what got you where you are is not going to get you where you're going. Does that make sense? We've got to fundamentally shift our thinking. We can't be resting on last year's championships. Hey, some of you RVPs, you went RVP last year. You're still talking about I win RVP. That was last year. Go do something meaningful now. How about, right? Some of you still talk about your record from 2015. Okay, that's fantastic, right? Let's go set a record right now, right? Does that make sense, y'all? Let's put to bed all the things we used to do that was great, and let's go do something great right now. Yes or yes, right? Let's go do something great right now. So let's talk about what you need to do as a team. Okay, what do you need to do as a team? And as a team, fundamental one is you got to understand that last month means nothing. Great job last month. Congratulations. You had record-breaking cash. You had all these sorts of whoop-de-doos. Fantastic, but it's time to go back to work, right? And here's what I find, that the difference between nice teams, Jason, and $1 million earners is $1 million earning teams go back to work, right? The nice teams, they're celebrating. They're like seals. Okay, they're clapping for themselves. They're party after party. They're taking vacations because they hit a goal. No. We go back to work, baby. We always go back to work. And that's how you need to be thinking if you're $1 million earning team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit of our story of what we did. And you need to pay attention. I'm telling you exactly how we did this so that you can take that and replicate that where you are, right? Okay. I'm going to tell you exactly how we did it. And I'm going to give you some of the nuggets alongside. Okay. Number one is this: belief is everything. You've got to believe, and I'm going to talk about this later in more detail. You've got to believe that you have the capacity as a team to get this done. And you've got to have a goal on the date. Jason, do you guys have a goal for that? What's the goal?
The goal for the hierarchy to get to $1 million? What's that?
For $1 million. Yeah, what's the goal?
The goal for $1 million income is to be there by convention, coach.
Okay, so convention. So how many months you got?
We have
11 or 12.
Yep.
Right? 11 or 12. You got to know exactly what you need to do. You got to chart it out. And then you've got to work on your belief, because listen, if I sat here today, guys, listen, I want everybody paying attention. Eric, I want you paying attention to this, buddy. I know you're right and I see it. Okay. I could start saying numbers, 10 by 10,000, 15 by 15,000. And I could ask you, where do you check out on this scale mentally? And eventually, every person on this call will check out and they will say, I don't believe I can do that. Something subconsciously inside checks out and says, that is beyond my realm of possibility, right? Does that make sense? We all have a equilibrium. See this bottle of water right here, right? See it? See that water in there? Watch what happens. If I turn the bottle, what does the water do? The water turns, right? Now this water doesn't got a brain. It doesn't have a coach. It's just doing what it naturally does, right? It's trying to even itself back out. It's trying to go back to its state of equilibrium, right? That's how people are too. We have a mindset and a income level that to us is comfortable. It's our most natural state, right? And we'll do anything to stay there, including taking $1 million opportunity like this and whittling it back down to 50 grand to try to stay here. We've got to have a fundamental belief shift that we can do this and we can get it done in the next 11 months and exactly how it's going to need to happen. And I'm going to talk to you guys at the end about how do you create that belief? Okay, great. I know I need to believe it. I've heard this before, but I don't believe it. How do I get myself to believe? And right there, guys, listen, right there is the biggest job a leader will ever have in their life, is training themselves to believe the unbelievable. So I want you to understand, we went from 300 grand, Jason, to $1 million in income in 18 months. Before Zoom and everybody making $1 quadrillion, right? This is like old school, like people seeing people driving all over the place, right? And how did we do that? And the truth was, Jason, for a long time, I didn't believe that I could make $1 million a year in this business. And there was a number of reasons for that. And you all have your own reasons. Like, I'm not that great of a recruiter. Most of the people I recruit don't do it. Will I ever find anybody who loves it like me? I've been doing it this long and I'm only here. How could I ever triple that in a third of the time? It doesn't make any sense. And you have these objections in your heart as to why you can't do something huge right now. Every person on here, all of you have this at some level. I had it. That's how I know. I know you have it because I had it. And the truth is, we all still have it. I still have it, right? I have beliefs about why I'm not making $5 million a year right now, right? The same beliefs that are stopping me from going to $5 million a year are stopping you from going to $500,000 a year or $100,000 a year for some of you. Does that make sense? We've got to be thinking about what we're thinking about, because if we don't, we'll only think about what we already think about, which will keep us where we are. Does that make sense? And so leaders on this team, I want to challenge you to begin to systematically and strategically expand your belief, And I'm going to give you some how-tos right now, and then we'll talk more about the what's and the whys later, okay? You cannot expand your own vision. Somebody else has got to do that for you. What I would be doing right now is I would be studying POL, and I would be looking at examples like the guy I just told you about on my team, who's exploding in 12 or 18 months. You know, Ronell Burns has a guy, Darmond Edwards. Darmond been in the business for 15 months. He spoke on one of my calls. I haven't had somebody who's not $1 million earner speak on one of my calls in a long time. And he spoke on what he did 200,000 in his base last month. He'll probably do 280 in his base this month. He's been in the business for 15 months. He'll make $130,000 this month. Go look for examples of people succeeding big quickly, and understand that if you'll begin to think on that, it'll give you some new thought processes, right? Does that make sense? You need to see some people doing it big. You need to fill your mind with that, because if you don't fill your mind with people doing it big, all you'll think about is people doing it small, right? Does that make sense? We've got to begin to develop our belief. And that was on me. That was on me. I had to convince myself that not only I could do it, but I would do it and that I deserved to do it. Does that make sense, y'all? And so we've got to recondition our belief that God wants us to do something bigger. He wants us to have more influence. He wants us to help more people. He wants to take our life to another level. Folks, God wants to bless you so big that people look at you and they say, I have to know what it is about them. I just can't believe this, right? That's what he wants to do in your life. Number two is, as a team, we need to engage. We need to emotionally connect that being $1 million earning team means something. That it means something not just to Ed and Yvonne, but it means something to each and every single person on this call, no matter how new, no matter how long you've been here, no matter how explosive you are or how much you're sucking eggs right now, that it means something, that your future is tied to them. Do you understand? Your future is tied to them. You want them to do as good as they possibly can, as fast as they possibly can, right? And we've got to engage in the business. Folks, listen, I don't know if it's like this at month end with you guys, but it is with me. You guys do a ton of production on month end, right? Like a ton. Like in one day, you'll do what took a week or 2 weeks sometimes, right? Does that make sense? Let me ask you, what changed, Eric, on month end? What changed? You're in the same business you were always in. It's the same people, right? It's the same company. Nothing changed except what? Everybody was engaged because there was something they were fighting for, a promotion, a deadline, a contest. When engagement goes up, everybody wins, right? Does that make sense? And guys, listen, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Does that make sense? And let me speak something over you this morning. There are no weak links on this team. There are no weak links, folks. Everybody's important. Everybody means something. Every single person playing to the best of your capability. Now listen, Karen, you might not be able to play at the level that Eric's playing, but you can be your best, right? You can play at the best level you're playing. And Karen might be like, I'm going to crush Eric. What are you talking about? I'm going to crush Eric. Guys, listen, we got to engage. Let the moment and the movement sweep you away. Because when you get engaged in the movement, the work is not work anymore. You'll set more appointments than you ever set, and you're more energized than ever. You're working longer hours than you ever worked, but you feel younger and more enthusiastic and energized than ever because you're working towards something that means something to you, that means something to you. I'm going to give you an exercise. You don't do it now, but I want you to do it tonight. Okay, I want you to write down 5 reasons that it means something to you to be a part of taking this team to $1 million earner status by the convention. I want you to write down 5 things. Why does it mean something to me? Right? And maybe it's the example. Maybe it's the fact that you need to play on a winning team for once. Maybe it's the fact that you want to be on a winning team or have a winning team, you first got to be on one, right? I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's the money you're going to make along the way and what you're going to be able to do for your kids with that money or the debt that you're going to pay off. I don't know what it is for you, but folks, look at me in my eyes. You got to get emotionally connected to this. It's got to mean something to you. And folks, listen, a decided heart finds a way, right? A decided heart finds a way. And we got to decide today that we're going to engage in this movement, that it's not going to be something the team is doing. It's something that I'm doing. Something that I'm a part of. Does that make sense to y'all? You got to engage. Step number 3 is you got to mobilize. You got to mobilize. What does that mean? So here's what happened. This is exactly what I did. And this is exactly what I would recommend you guys do. And you probably already have done this, but you've got to continue to do it. You've got to continue to do it. Once I believed that we could do it, my goal was to get $1 million a year done in under 10 years. That was my goal. My drop dead date was September 28th. That was my 10-year anniversary, 2016. I had to do it by then. Guys, listen, I was at 600 grand in December of 2015, all right? I had basically 9 months, right, to get that, to go from 600 grand to $1 million. And I'm like, once I finally got myself to believe that, all right, we could do it. We have enough people. If everybody grows by this, if we could grow recruiting to this, we could make it happen. Then what I did is I began to mobilize, and I started with my key leaders. And I was just very honest with them. And guys, listen, you got to be honest with your people. You got to be honest with your people. If you're going to do something great, it's first going to require a great commitment. It's going to require a great commitment. And I called my top guys. I said, guys, listen, I feel like we need to do this as a team. I feel like we have a chance to make history right now. And we need to do this as a team. But let me tell you what it's going to cost. It's going to cost the very best you got. And then I'm going to push you beyond anything you've ever seen before. And we're going to probably have some 2-a-day conference calls, morning and night. and we're going to probably have some emergency meetings. And I'm going to ask you to lead in ways that you've never had to lead before. And I'm going to push you to your breaking point and beyond. I just want you to know. And Eric, it's not going to be for a month. It's going to be for 9 months. We're not going to have any days off. I mean, it's going to be 7 days on. We're not going to take trips. We're going to have to get this done. Eric, listen, I don't want to drag you up this mountain. So we climb together or we don't go at all. Will you climb this with me? And I began to mobilize my top leaders. I began to assemble my mountain climbing team, right? Does that make sense? And once I knew that our key leaders were in, then I reached out to the RVPs, to the next level of leadership. And you might say, I don't have RVPs. This doesn't mean anything to me, Ian. False, false. You have people that are foxhole people with you, right? And then you got some people that could be champions, but they just haven't made the commitment. Then you got a bunch of very nice people. This is the same thing, right? Big organization, small organization, you mobilize people the same way, right? So then we pulled all the RVPs on a call. There was only 16 of them at the time, Jason. We had 16 RVPs. Today we have 37, right? We had 16 RVPs the first 9 years in the business, and then 21 additional in the last 4.5, right? That's how it goes, right? It gets big all of a sudden. But here's what we did. We put them on a call and we just told them the same story. We think we can make history. We think that this could be something magical, but it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us. And honestly, if even one of you RVPs doesn't want to play, isn't willing to give your very best, I don't think we can make it. I don't think we can make it without each and every person on here giving their very best. And folks, that was the absolute truth. And it's the absolute truth today on this phone call. That's what I said. There are no weak links on this team. You understand that? You might think, I'm so new. I've only done 1 or 2 things. This business is so big. How could I possibly matter? And let me look at you in the face and tell you, you matter more than you could possibly know. Because at the end of the day, do you understand? There's one app in the next 11 months that's going to be the app that takes these guys over $1 million. You understand that? One. It will come down to one. And some of you might only do one. And you're the reason this team made history. You are. Nobody else. It was you. It was you. Without you, it didn't get done. And we cast the vision. And we told people, man, listen, it's going to cost us. But man, the price is going to be worth it. It's going to be incredible. And we began to mobilize. And then what we did, guys, listen, as we called the play, have you guys called the play? You got to count down to convention in your offices. Are you guys posting incomes every 2 days on the thermometer and watching it go down? Do you have the game plan? You've got to have that. And we've got to be talking about it. Man, we called an emergency hierarchy call. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that call. We had 150 people on, like you guys have a couple hundred people on here. And I just said, listen, the leaders want to do this. I want to do it, but we can't do it without you. And every single person's important. We talked about the power of one. Everyone matters. And we had people, Eric and Jason, we had them go and said, if you're in, I just want you to go to social media right now and hashtag all in. And man, for hours, I was on Facebook looking at all in. And we had the battle cry. We sounded it. We made the announcement. This is what we're doing. And we began to mobilize the troops. Next is you got to divide the goal and conquer. Here's what we did. We charted out month by month exactly the production that needed to happen from the team every single month for that 9-month period of time. Okay? You guys need to do that. It needs to be exact. Okay? We need to know exactly what we need to do. So we've got to have the game plan. That's the battle plan for the war, right? Okay? And then every month is its own battle. And here's what we did. So say we needed to do, like, what are you guys doing as a total hierarchy, Jason, in premium right now?
We've been averaging about 300, about 250, about 300,000 of premium as a hierarchy.
And that's a lot of that's at second, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, because if that was at first, you'd already be at $1 million.
Yep.
Family, right? So, okay. So what do you need to be doing monthly to get that done? If it doesn't change generations, you probably need to be doing about 500, right? Okay, great. So you probably won't go from 300 to 500 this month, right? But here's what it's going to look like. We need to do 350. Then we need to do 380. Then we need to do 410. Then we need to do 450. Then we need to do 500. Then we need to do 550. Then we need to do 600. It's gonna be a ramp. Does that make sense? Most people think, oh, I need to be doing 500. I'm only doing 300. I don't believe that. You don't need to believe that right now. Can you do 330? Can you do 350? Right? Does that make sense? And so you're gonna start under the goal, and then you're gonna swoop over the goal. Does that make sense? That's what your next 11 months gonna look like. You've got to move from where you are to about 140% of where you need to be. And you got to move that up on a straight line. That makes sense? So what you got to do is you got to know every single month, guys, what you need to be doing. Remember, this is what we need to do as a team, right? Okay. And then that number, let's say it's 350 for August or 400,000, whatever you guys decide it needs to be. Then what you do is you divide that 400,000 and you assign every general their battle plans. Right? The RVPs are the general. How many RVPs in the hierarchy? Uh-oh, you're muted. You're muted, Jason. Sorry. How many VPs?
11.
11. Okay. So you divvy it up to each their own, right? You got some guys doing $8,000. All right. We need you doing 15, right? You divvy it up. You give the big hitters the heavy loads, but everybody got to grow, right? And when you assign it, you own it, right? Does that make sense? It's like that bystander syndrome, right? Okay, they've done psychological, research studies. Somebody's hurt on the ground, and everybody just walks by because they believe what? Somebody else is going to help. That's a psychological human trait, right? So they say, oh, 400 grand. Let's do it, coach. It's going to be incredible. They got streamers going off. They got a shirt that says 400 or bust, right? They got all this stuff, but they just don't do anything because they think somebody else is going to do it, right? When you divide it up, the goal will not happen without each piece owning it and what? Executing it. Owning and executing, right? Does that make sense? You own it, you execute it. You own it, you execute it. This is how you build this business. Okay. I'm telling you exactly how we did this. Okay. Exactly. Now you may already be doing some of this. That's fantastic. But for what I'm talking to you about, if you're not doing it, you need to do it, because this is about mobilizing and moving an army of people towards a goal. So what do you got to do? You got to divide the goal up into its subsequent pieces, right? You've got to divide it up by VP. VPs, listen. You take your marching orders. Let's say that's 40 grand, and you call an emergency call with your players, and you divide up that 40 grand with your players. And players on the VP team, you got some people, right? You take the piece your leader assigns you, and you divide it up with your people, right? Does that make sense? And if you did that, literally every person in the hierarchy, Eric, every single person in the hierarchy will know, here's what I have to do this month. This is my part. Does that make sense? You cannot be ambiguous. There can be no confusion, okay? There can be no confusion, okay, about what every single person needs to do. You follow that, right? And here's the deal, okay? That's the team stuff. Let's talk about what you need to do as an individual. That's the team stuff. All right, so we boiled it down to me. I'm part of this team. I want to be a part of making history. I want to double or triple or quadruple my income the next 4 months. What do I need to do? Number one is you need to understand, to get bigger, you got to get bigger, right? You've got to sell out to recruiting. You've got to sell out to recruiting, and you've got to sell out to personally developing, right? Because if you don't have more people or more skills, you will not have more numbers. You got to have more of one of the two of those, preferably both, right? You'll have some growth with a growth in recruiting. You'll have some growth with a growth in skills. You'll have exponential growth when you grow your skills and your recruiting. You follow that, right? Does that make sense to you? Okay, so let's talk about some recruiting tips personally as an individual. Okay, let's talk about some recruiting tips here. Okay, how do you cultivate the recruiting mindset? So in my books, many of you have read it. If you haven't read it, you should get it. I talk about a concept called T-bar. T-bar is how life works. This is the secret to success and failure. And, you know, I wrote the book Byproduct, and ironically, the book was a byproduct. I'm not an author. I never set out to be an author. I don't view myself as an author. I'm a business person. And what I learned along the way, I put into a book because I figured somebody could probably use what I learned in 10 years of having to figure this out, right? Does that make sense? And what I noticed is we're all operating on a process called T-bar. This is happening in everybody's life. Here's the best part. You don't need to learn this. You already know it. You just aren't directing it, most of you. And here's what T-bar stands for. T stands for thoughts. B stands for beliefs. Okay. A stands for actions. And R stands for results. And T-bar is a formula. Basically, what happens is our thoughts eventually become beliefs. Our beliefs are byproducts of what we think about most, okay? Our beliefs ultimately create our actions. Our actions are byproducts of our belief system. For example, you know, Eric, if I said, hey, your house is on fire right now behind you, you should leave, right? How come you didn't get up and run out of the room screaming? Why didn't you do that right now? Because you don't believe that your house is on fire. I told you something. You had a thought, my house could be on fire. He just told me it was. You thought that, but your belief said, no, house is probably not on fire. And so it translated into you sitting calmly in your seat, right? Does that make sense? But if you really did believe your house was on fire, you would probably get up and leave, right? Does that make sense? Our belief systems always eventually create our actions. What we do or do not do is always a result of what we deeply believe. And ultimately, our results are byproducts of our actions, right? What we do gives us our results. If we want our results to change, something we do has to change, right? Does that make sense? I could talk about this for 10 hours. In fact, I did, Jason, in one of my master classes. We cannot talk about this all right now. What I want to hone in here on is the beliefs. Because watch this. How many of you know you have a mental knowledge that you should recruit more people? Is anybody confused about that? Raise your hand if you know, I need to grow my recruiting. I need to become a better recruiter. I need to recruit more people. You all know that, right? Okay. But many of you are not doing that. You'd agree with that statement, right? You know you need to do it. That's the thought. I know I need to do this. But the action on the thought is not happening, right? So if our thinking begets our belief system and our belief system begets our action, if our thinking is right, I need to recruit, recruiting is good, recruiting will help me, but it does not translate to action, we have a hang up where? In the belief. The belief is blocking the movement from the thought to the action. Does that make sense? Okay? Your actions are quite natural for how you believe, right? Does that make sense? And so our beliefs must be understood. And folks, listen, most people are not thinking about what they're thinking about. They're not choosing their beliefs. Their beliefs have been chosen for them through 20 or 30 or 40 years of middle-class programming. And we come into this business, conceptually, it's easy. It makes all the sense in the world. We just can't get ourselves to do it. You know what I like to tell people, Eric, is the biggest gap in the world is the gap between knowing what to do and doing it, right? Everybody wants to lose weight. We all know I should eat less and work out more, but we don't do it. So we have the right thinking, we just don't take action. Where's the problem? In the belief system. Well, I'm just big boned. Well, I can work out hard and it's not as simple as that for me. There's other things, right? My metabolism, my this, my that. We've got these beliefs that stop us from taking action, right? That stop us from taking action. So I'm going to give you a 3-step formula here I talk about in the book. And again, I cannot possibly do this justice here, but I'm going to give you a start, okay? You have some belief systems, you all, that are stopping you from recruiting. Let me verbalize a few here, okay? Let me verbalize a few here. Why waste my time recruiting people? Most of them aren't going to do it anyways, right? I'm not a good enough leader. Even if I find good people, they probably wouldn't follow me. I don't even know what I'm doing. Why would somebody want to be involved with me? I've made a sacrifice for this business, a lot of time, a lot of energy. I don't know that I feel like I want to ask other people to do that, right? I'm not a great recruiter. People just don't seem to want to follow me. I don't think I'm a good enough leader. People just aren't interested. If we cut you open and we heard the silent self-talk going on in most of your minds, if you're not recruiting big numbers right now, I promise you some or all of that is running rampant in there. Those are belief systems. You may not even be consciously thinking about them. They're just there. They're there, causing everything you do. And so guys, listen, that makes total sense, right? If you believe you can go and recruit and recruit and recruit and nobody's going to do it anyways, why would you go out and recruit and recruit and recruit? If you really believe that's not going to be fruitful, why would you do it? And so you don't. You don't. And then you feel bad and guilty and shameful that you have this great opportunity and people around you are winning. Am I speaking to anybody today? You all know what I'm saying to you, right? Okay. You got to change your belief system. Easier said than done, right? Easier said than done. It's exactly what I had to do. It's exactly what I've watched other people have to do. And it's exactly something that you can do, but it will take work. Are you committed enough to your future to do that work? Let me show you part of the work, okay? Here's a 3-step process to changing your beliefs. Number one is you've got to recognize that the problem lies in your belief system. Let me help you. You are not the problem. There's nothing wrong with you. You're more than capable. Okay, if you ever recruited anybody, you could recruit 1,000 more people. It's just 999 more times of what you already did once. Does that make sense? So it has nothing to do with you can't or you're not good enough or any of those things, which is what you believe that stops you, right? Your belief system is what's stopping you. So you need to begin to recognize and name the beliefs that are holding you back. And you all have them. You all have them. And there are exercises you can do to start verbalizing, putting a conscious awareness to a subconscious belief system, right? Does that make sense? You got to recognize it first, that I need to change my beliefs, because many of you don't think that. You think Primerica is the problem. Well, folks, that's just not true, right? Okay, but you're not the problem either. Your belief system is the problem. Okay, so you got to recognize that that's the problem. Then you need to begin to replace the existing belief system with a better and more accurate belief system, right? You can't just say, well, that's not my belief. That's not my belief. You've got to replace it. You've got to replace it. Let me give you a tip, right? You might say, well, I'm not a great recruiter, right? That's your current belief system. You might replace that with a belief system that I'm going to be a great recruiter because I'm doing the work on me to be somebody worth following. See that belief system? They both acknowledge the truth that maybe right now you're not the best recruiter, but one offers no solution and the other one by default is the solution, right? Does that make sense? And as we begin to think that way, how do we help but take action to become a better recruiter? That's what we're talking to ourselves about, right? Does that make sense? That's just one example. You've got to replace that existing thought with a repurposed and repackaged new thought, right? A new thought, new belief. And then you got to repeat. Repetition is the mother of learning. In my book, I talked about being a hypochondriac. That's where you think you're sick all the time, right? And earlier in my life, I was a hypochondriac. I was always worried about being sick. And at one point in my life, I was in the emergency room multiple times in a month with this thing, that thing. It was all in my mind. And I caught myself, Jason, 300 to 400 times a day thinking, ow, that didn't feel good. Huh, that's probably this. Ooh, I wonder what's wrong with me. 300 to 400 times a day that I became aware of, right? And I had to become aware, right? I had to recognize it. And then I replaced it. Said, no. 1 Peter 2:24 says, by his stripes I've been healed. Your word brings life and health to all my body. I shall live and not die. And I had a new set of thinking, and I had to repeat that hundreds of times a day. And once you know it, Jason, in about 3 weeks, after I made the decision to change my thinking, never happened again. Never had those problems ever again in my life because I repeated. Any thought repeated often enough eventually becomes a belief. Whether it's true or not, true, false, doesn't matter. It eventually becomes a belief. Does that make sense? So you need to understand that it's the belief, it's not the system. Your system for recruiting works great. But if you're not recruiting great right now, folks, it's not the system. It's your belief system. It's your belief system. And folks, that's what I'm passionate about. I love teaching people this because, listen, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, right? You teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a life. Imagine if you could get control of your thinking, right? And you could start dissecting the things that are holding you back, replacing them with things to propel you forward, and then have a system and process to do that. You become pretty unstoppable, right? And that's exactly that. So listen, guys, man, I hope this has helped. Again, I could talk to you for 100 hours on this stuff, and we'd just be scratching the surface of how to lead yourself, right? And that's the real leadership, guys. You want to lead others, first you got to lead you. So I want to give you 5 ways we can connect really quickly. 5 ways we can connect really quickly. I want you all to grab your phones, okay, because most of them are online. Let me show you this. So I know many of you are probably in this group already, but this is my Primerica-based Facebook group. It's the best price system. Guys, listen, everything that I do, that I produce that has anything directly to do with our business, guys, listen, I always make it available to everybody free of charge. It's yours. It's a gift to you. So here's what I want you to do. If you're not a part of this group, guys, listen, all my presentations, all my trainings, all my systems, everything Primerica related is in this group. It's available to you. It's free of charge. You can take and do whatever you want with it. So grab your phone really quickly, open up Facebook if you're not a part of this group, and in the search bar at the top, just type in best PRI system, find the one hashtag relentless, and ask to join that, okay? And one of our moderators will put you in there. Again, it's yours. It belongs to you. It's a free gift. I hope you get a lot of value out of that, okay? Second thing is if you're not following me on Instagram, I'd love for you to follow me on Instagram. I put out a lot of motivational stuff, a lot of bread for the head, and sell people on the dream big time. But this is also where I can answer some of your questions, okay? If you have a question or you want to get a hold of me directly, best thing to do is send me a DM on Insta. So if you're not following me on Insta, everybody grab your phone, open up Insta. I know you got it. Don't be shy. Open up Insta. In the search bar, type in Ian Prukner. You'll see me. Give me a follow there. I promise I'm going to deliver some great stuff to you. And if you want to ask a question, I will do my best to answer it. Please don't write me a novel. Okay? Don't write me a novel. Listen, I promise I do not need to know your life story to give you some wisdom. Okay? One day I will learn it when you're big, but right now just let me help you, okay? So I'll do my absolute best to do that. Third thing, some of you know I just dropped a podcast. People have been asking me, Pruk, when are you going to have a podcast? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't feel like doing a podcast. So anyways, the podcast is out. It drops every Tuesday. There are 3 episodes out. And I'd encourage you to grab that. I'd encourage you to get it for your teammates. It is just all mentality, mental toughness, the right thinking. You can find that on iTunes or Spotify. And do me a favor, leave me a review if you like it. If you don't like it, my name is Collis Temple, and you leave him a review, okay? Some of you know I wrote a book. This is what the book looks like. It's called Byproduct. You can get it on Amazon. If you don't have it and you haven't read it, I'd encourage you. It's worth the read. It's worth the read. This is 10 years of my life's work, put in a couple of 100 pages of here's what I would boil down the most important things to learning yourself and learning others are. So man, I'd encourage you to get it. Last thing I'll tell you about is I recorded a couple of masterclasses. Why did I record a masterclass? Well, quite honestly, I could talk for literally 100 hours on this, and we would just be diving into the real meat of how this works. So I recorded a couple of masterclasses. The one on the left is the Byproduct Masterclass. It's on my book. It's a 9-hour lecture series on these concepts, an 80-page workbook, 50 exercises. So you actually do it. How many of you have ever read a book before and you're like, that's a great book, and then you do nothing that you learned in the book, right? Well, that didn't help you. So if you're really serious about doing that, I would look at that. I did a recruiting boot camp masterclass. This has nothing to do with Primerica specifically, okay? It's generic. You be in real estate and be recruiting real estate agents, it's gonna help you. It's the psychology of why people join. More importantly, it's the psychology about why you don't try to get them to, right? Does that make sense? And so guys, you can grab those, and how you do that is if you're interested in it, you can just text the word byproduct, see down there at the bottom, to 484848. So if you're like sending a text message, instead of sending a message to Jason, you just send a message to the number 484848. If you text byproduct, we'll shoot you a link there. If you text masterclass to 484848, we'll send you the recruiting one. And guys, listen, hear my heart on this, please. Okay. Please don't buy those classes if you're not going to do them. Okay. Like, guys, listen, I have plenty of money. I don't do these things to make money. You understand that? Like, I got plenty. Okay. I've saved my money. I do these things because they add value to people. Okay. Please don't buy a class or a book if you're not going to read it or go through it. Okay. Number one. Secondly, please don't buy a class or a book if you're not doing what your trainer told you to do. Let's start there, okay? Let's start there. Let's start with, they told me to do this and I'm not doing that. But if you're like, man, I'm just stuck, I'm just not moving as fast as I need to go, I'd encourage you to get some new information, because new information and new thinking creates new actions and new results, right? So guys, listen, it's really been an honor to be here with you. I got a couple of minutes. If you guys do, if you want to do some Q&A, or if we're over time, that's cool too. You let me know.
All right, Coach. Hey, man, thank you so much for that clinic. That was absolutely incredible. I know we have our coach, Ed and Yvonne, Coach Ed on the line. Yeah, he usually closes off with our numbers to let you know exactly. And so you can kind of get an idea of what it is that, you know, where we're at for the month, what our vision is and things like that. But I thought that was an absolute clinic where you were talking about, you know, step 4 on that thing where divide the goal and conquer, about, you know, starting under and swooping over. So that kind of give you an idea of where we're at right now. If that's the idea, do we have Coach Ed? Are you on the line real quick, Coach? You want to address the team real quick before we close out? He's probably unmuting his screen right now.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. I'm right here. I just want to, first of all, hey, listen, Ian, thank you so much, man. That was absolutely phenomenal. That's exactly what we needed, man. You talk about mindset. You talk about mental toughness. That's what the team is looking for right now. And I want to thank you for the marching orders, man. I mean, what you put out here was phenomenal. It reminded me of the military, you know, everybody sets their goal and that goal goes up to the top, and those goals continue going up. And now the whole organization knows exactly what things are going to happen. So it just reminded me of that. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Right now, guys, we're sitting at 430 recruits for the month as a hierarchy, and we're at over 200,000 in premium. Okay, our goal here is to take this over 500 recruits. Our goal here is to take this to 300,000 in premium, and we're going to do that by close of business. Okay, and then next month, basically what we're going to do, RVPs out here, what we're going to do is we're going to do what Ian just mentioned. It's as far as, tell me where you're at. Tell me where you feel comfortable. 10 by 10, 20 by 20, 30 by 30, 40 by 40, and we're going to continue stretching that thing, okay? If you did 30 by 30, then hey, listen, let's go for 40 by 40 or 50 by 50, whatever the case may be. And we want you to commit to that. If you're going to put those numbers, we're not going to just throw numbers out there. We're just going to commit to the numbers that you said we're going to do. We're going to add all those numbers, and basically that's going to be our goal for that month. And we're going to continue growing that number from there on forward, because we're going to hit that $1 million. We're going to get that ruby ring by convention. We got 11 months to go. We can do this thing, okay? We can do this thing. We all got to pull together. We all got to come together as a team. And I'm talking about from the newest person out there. Guys, we can do this thing. I mean, you just, Ian Prukner just mentioned he's got someone on his team, made what, at $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 just on life. just with one license. Imagine if you have 2 licenses out there, guys. We can do this thing, okay? And I know that we can do it. We just want to know it's got to come up. And what he mentioned, the T-bar, we got to, our thoughts, our belief, our actions, and man, we just got to go to work. We just got to go to work. So Ian, I thank you so much for being part of the team. And I know when we get there, we're going to recognize and we're going to thank everyone who's helped us take it there. And this right here was one of the most impactful one. This was, you know, these were not only mental toughness, but these were marching orders. These were like, hey, this is what you got to do. And we're going to, and I encourage guys, hey, listen, just like Ian said, if these books, if buy them, if you're gonna read them, buy them if you're gonna read them. Okay, just don't buy them for the sake of buying them. Same thing with the program that he's got, everything, because this is about self-improving. This is about you getting better from here on forward. Okay, because it's not about us winning. All right, I've always said there's absolutely nothing wrong you becoming mega wealthy. You becoming wealthy as long as you help others become wealthy along the way. Okay, our job here is that our main thing is to get you guys to that next level. Okay, you guys to stretch it out. I want to recognize also Joe. Joe took his income up to 30,000. Man, we're so proud of him. And I know that everyone out here, we can do this thing, man. We can do this thing. Let's go. Let's go make it happen. We got Eric, which is about 2,000 away, less than 2,000 away from going over 250,000 in income. Come on, we could do that. Jason's hitting 150. We got Willis hitting 150. We got TTLA going for over 200,000. We also have Edward Fernandez out there shooting for 200,000. Guys, we can do this thing, okay? We all come together as a team. We all got to come together and just stretch it a little bit more. Stretch it a little bit more. And if we do that, man, we're going to get there, okay? So with that, man, I thank you so much, Ian. Kudos and regards. Hey, listen, we miss you down here in Florida. You know, I noticed you're up there in the big.
I'll be back.
In the big swamp.
I'll be back.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's not the same in Florida without you. Okay, so come on back, man. Do that. All right. So guys, hey, listen. Thank you, every one of you, for being on the call. You know, close to 200 people here. We just got to continue moving this thing. And all those, we got 400 and something folks that we recruited, guys. We got to make it a point that every time we recruit something, we got to make sure that they know about this boot camp, they know about this training. So we should have over 400 people on this call right now, okay? And every day we're going to continue growing it. We're going to continue growing. We're going to continue making it happen, okay? So I truly appreciate you, Ian. Regards to Jessica and the kids. And guys, hey, let's go make it happen, okay? So without any further ado, Joe, if you could just unmute it, or hey, everyone, just unmute yourself, man. Just unmute yourself, and let's go ahead and call it out, all right? Unmute yourself. Here it is. Here we go. And you all know the deal. Here we are.
Right.
Thanks, Coach Ian.
Yams,